I needed a fresh start. As a single mother of 3, I found a rental house in Gary, Indiana. It seemed perfect, a place for my young family to find peace. Little did I know, I was stepping into a nightmare. From the moment we moved into the house on Carolina Street, things felt off. An oppressive darkness seemed to cling to the very walls. I tried to ignore the unsettling feeling, hoping it was just the stress of the move, but the house had other plans.
The first sign was the flies. Hundreds of them swarming inside the house in the dead of winter. They buzzed relentlessly, covering windows and walls. Latoya called exterminators, baffled by the infestation. The flies were relentless. They seemed to come from nowhere, swarming in thick black clouds. Exterminators were baffled. No amount of spraying could eradicate them. The whispers started subtly, soft murmurs at the edge of hearing. They seemed to come from the walls themselves.
I tried to ignore them, but the whispers grew louder, more insistent. Sometimes I could almost make out words, chilling pronouncements whispered in the darkness.
Then came the shadows, flickering movements at the periphery of vision. Latoya would catch glimpses of something dark and shapeless darting out of sight. Her heart pounded in her chest, a primal fear gripping her. The shadows seemed to grow bolder, lingering longer, as if daring her to acknowledge their presence. Latoya was living in a waking nightmare, trapped inside a house that seemed to be closing in on her. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched, hunted by unseen eyes. The true horror began with the children. Latoya's young sons and daughter, once happy and playful, became withdrawn and terrified. They complained of seeing figures in the darkness, whispering voices that called their names. Her youngest son, only 7 years old, would wake up screaming, his eyes wide with terror.
He spoke of a man with glowing red eyes who stood at the foot of his bed. My daughter, once a bright and bubbly child, became sullen and withdrawn. She would sit for hours, staring into space, her eyes filled with a chilling emptiness.
The children's behavior became increasingly erratic. They would lash out in violent fits of rage, their voices taking on a guttural, inhuman tone. Latoya watched in horror as her children, her own flesh and blood, were transformed into something dark and sinister. Something evil had taken root in her home, twisting the innocence of her children into something monstrous. Terrified for her children, Latoya sought help. She contacted their pediatrician, describing the bizarre and disturbing changes in their behavior. The doctor, skeptical but concerned, recommended a child psychologist. The psychologist, after interviewing the children, was left deeply troubled. She had never encountered anything like it. The children's accounts were too detailed, too consistent to be dismissed as mere childhood fantasies. Desperate for answers, Latoya turned to her church. She confided in her pastor, recounting the terrifying events that plagued her home. The pastor, a devout man, listened with growing concern. He agreed to visit the house to see for himself the darkness that had taken hold. What he experienced during his visit shook him to his core. He witnessed firsthand the children's bizarre behavior, their eyes glazed over, their voices distorted and chilling. He left convinced that a powerful evil had invaded the Ammons home. Word of the Ammons case spread, attracting the attention of local authorities and medical professionals. Doctors at a nearby hospital examined the children, running a battery of tests. They found no physical explanation for their strange behavior, no signs of abuse or neglect. Psychiatrists were called in, attempting to unravel the psychological roots of the children's terrifying claims. But traditional medicine seemed powerless against the unseen forces at play.
The children's behavior continued to escalate. They spoke of being choked by invisible hands, dragged across the floor by unseen entities.
Social workers, fearing for the children's safety, intervened.
Latoya found herself caught between the skepticism of the medical community and the terrifying reality of what was happening to her children. Was this a case of mental illness or something far more sinister?
Desperate, Latoya reached out to anyone who would listen. Her pleas for help reached the ears of Father Michael Maginot, a Catholic priest known for his experience with spiritual matters.
Father Maginot, a man of deep faith and unwavering conviction, listened intently as Latoya described the horrors that plagued her family. He agreed to visit the house on Carolina Street to confront the darkness that had taken root.
Stepping into the home, Father Maginot felt a palpable chill, a suffocating sense of evil.
He interviewed the children, witnessing firsthand their disturbing transformations. He saw the fear in their eyes, the palpable terror that gripped their young souls.
Convinced that they were dealing with a powerful demonic force, Father Maginot decided to perform an exorcism, a sacred rite to expel the evil that had taken hold. News of the Ammons haunting spread like wildfire. Local newspapers picked up the story, captivated by the chilling accounts of demonic possession and exorcism.
The national media soon followed, descending upon the small town of Gary, Indiana. Reporters and camera crews camped outside the house on Carolina Street, eager for a glimpse of the family and the priest who claimed to be battling the forces of darkness.
The Ammons family found themselves thrust into the spotlight, their lives turned upside down.
Latoya, thrust into the role of reluctant spokesperson, shared her story with the world, hoping to find answers and perhaps some measure of peace.
The media attention brought with it a wave of skepticism and disbelief. Many dismissed the story as a hoax, a desperate cry for attention, or a case of mass hysteria.
But those who witnessed the events firsthand, the police officers, the social workers, and Father Maginot himself, remained convinced that something truly dark had transpired within the walls of the house on Carolina Street.
In the aftermath of the exorcisms, the paranormal activity in the house subsided. The flies disappeared. The whispers ceased. The children slowly began to heal, their nightmares fading, their laughter returning. But the scars of their ordeal remained.
The family, deeply affected by their experience, eventually moved out of the house on Carolina Street, seeking a fresh start far away from the horrors they had endured.
Latoya, forever changed by her encounter with the unknown, became an advocate for families experiencing similar phenomena. She shared her story, offering hope to those who felt isolated and afraid. The house on Carolina Street stood empty, a silent testament to the darkness that had once resided within its walls. It became a macabre tourist attraction, drawing curiosity seekers and paranormal investigators drawn to its sinister reputation. The Ammons haunting, like all paranormal events, attracted its share of skeptics. They pointed to the lack of physical evidence, the reliance on eyewitness accounts, and the subjective nature of paranormal phenomena. Some suggested that the family had fabricated the story, seeking financial gain or notoriety.
Others posited that environmental factors such as carbon monoxide poisoning could explain some of the reported symptoms. Psychologists theorized that the children's claims were a form of mass hysteria, fueled by stress, anxiety, and the power of suggestion. They argued that Latoya, under immense pressure as a single mother, may have unconsciously influenced her children's perceptions.
While skeptics offered plausible explanations, they struggled to account for the sheer strangeness of the case, the consistency of the children's accounts, and the involvement of respected professionals like Father Maginot. The Ammons haunting left an indelible mark on those involved and on the field of paranormal investigation. It ignited a debate about the nature of reality, the existence of evil, and the limits of human understanding. The case highlighted the challenges of proving or disproving paranormal phenomena, the difficulty of separating fact from fiction, and the power of belief to shape our perceptions. The story continues to fascinate and disturb, serving as a chilling reminder that some mysteries may forever defy rational explanation. The Ammons haunting became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder that sometimes the most terrifying monsters are not the ones we imagine lurking in the shadows, but the ones that reside within the human psyche, or perhaps in the unseen realms beyond our comprehension. The Ammons haunting remains a subject of intense debate. Was it a genuine case of demonic possession, a haunting of unprecedented magnitude, or a tragic example of the human capacity for delusion and self-deception? The answer, like the shadows that danced within the walls of the house on Carolina Street, remains elusive. The events that unfolded in that unassuming house in Gary, Indiana, challenge our understanding of the world, forcing us to confront the possibility that there are forces at play beyond our comprehension. The Ammons haunting stands as a chilling reminder that sometimes the most terrifying truth is that we may never truly know. The house on Carolina Street may stand empty, but the questions it raises about the nature of reality and the darkness that lurks at the edges of human experience continue to haunt us.